In this video, we will discuss Section 4-4, Part 2, Day 1, Introducing Factoring. First, let's review some key properties of factoring. In order to multiply to a positive number, you have to multiply two numbers with the same sign, meaning a positive number times a positive number, or a negative number times a negative number. So for example, if you wanted to multiply to 12, you can multiply positive 2 times positive 6. So it's a positive times a positive. Or we can multiply negative 2 times negative 6, which would be an example of a negative times a negative. Now for the problems we're going to do, the first thing we need to do is list all the numbers that multiply to the given number, then determine which pair of numbers adds the number it's asking for. So in our example, it says which two numbers multiply to 4 and add to 5. So first, we are going to list all the numbers that multiply to 4, just like when we listed our factor pairs. So if I want to list which numbers multiply to 4, first thing I do is 4 divided by 1, which gives me 4. So I can list 1 and 4. Now the important thing of this compared to what we did with greatest common factor is you can't forget, don't forget the negative numbers. So for example, instead of just dividing 4 by positive 1, I also need to divide by negative 1. So 4 divided by negative 1 gives me negative 4. So I have negative 1 and negative 4. The next number I would do is 2. So 4 divided by 2 gives me positive 2. So I kept 2 and 2. And again, I now have to consider the negative version of that number. So 4 divided by negative 2. 4 divided by negative 2 gives me negative 2. Now because I have 2 and 2, I'm done listing all of my possibilities. The next part of the question asks us to check which set adds to 5. So if I'm listing them, you want to see which set adds to 5. So if I were to check 1 plus 4, so 1 plus 4, if I just add all the numbers, gives you 5. The next one I have is negative 1 plus negative 4, which gives you negative 5. If I add 2 and 2, gives me positive 4. And the last one, negative 2 plus negative 2, gives us negative 4. So if we want to have it add to 5 specifically, this means we're checking. So if I were to go down the list, the first set example adds to 5. The next one adds to negative 5, so it doesn't work. Positive 4, so it doesn't work. And negative 4, so it doesn't work. So my set of numbers that works is 1 and 4. So your answer is 1 and 4. For the next example, you want to list all the numbers, or list the two numbers that multiply to 8 and add to negative 6. So if I first start by listing numbers that multiply to 8, I'm going to start with 8 divided by positive 1, which gives me 8. So I have 1 and 8. And again, the key thing is don't forget negatives, numbers. So if I do 8 divided by negative 1, I get negative 8. So I have negative 1 and negative 8. Now I'm going to move to my next number because I did both positive and negative. So 8 divided by 2 gives me 4. So 2 and 4. And now if I check the negative 2, 8 divided by negative 2 gives me negative 4. So negative 2 and negative 4. The next number I would check is 3, which gives us decimal, so it doesn't work, because remember you can have no decimals. And then after 3, I would check 4, which is already there, so that means we're done in terms of listing the factors. However, now I have to figure out which pair adds to negative 6. So if I'm going to figure out which set adds to equal negative 6, if I check, if I do 1 plus 8 gives you 9, negative 1 plus negative 8 equals negative 9, 2 plus 4 gives us positive 6, and negative 2 plus negative 4 equals negative 6. So now if we're checking which set of numbers adds to equal that negative 6, if I go down the list, the first one adds to 9, so it doesn't work. The next pair adds to negative 9, so it doesn't work. The next one adds to positive 6, so it doesn't work. But my last one adds to negative 6, meaning this is my pair that does work. So your answer is negative 2 and negative 4. For the next example, it asks which two numbers multiply to 18 and add to 9. So I first want to start by listing all the numbers that multiply to positive 18. So if I'm listing my numbers that multiply to 18, I'm going to start with 18 divided by positive 1, which gives me 18. And again, we have to check our negatives, so 18 divided by negative 1 gives us negative 18. So negative 1 and negative 18. Then if I do 18 divided by positive 2, it gives me 9. So you got 2 and 9. Check the negative version. So 18 divided by negative 2 gives me negative 9. Then I have 18, the next number would be 3 is 6. So I have 3 and 6. Now I check the negative version. It gives me negative 6. So negative 3 and negative 6. And I have 18 divided by 4, which gives me a decimal. And since positive 4 is a decimal, negative 4 would be a decimal as well. Then I can move to 18 divided by 5, which gives me a decimal, so it doesn't work. And also the negative version of 5 also would not work. And then I'm at 6, which I've already done. So I've listed all my possible factors. The next thing is you want to figure out which pair adds to equal 9. So which set of them adds to equal 9? So if I check, if I add 1 plus 18 gives us 19. Then if I add negative 1 plus negative 18 gives you negative 19. Then if we add 2 plus 9 gives us 11. Negative 2 plus negative 9 gives us negative 11. The 3 and 6, so 3 plus 6 equals positive 9. And the last one, negative 3 plus negative 6, which equals negative 9. Now if I'm checking which pair adds to equal positive 9, the first one adds to 19, so it doesn't work. Negative 19 doesn't work. 11 doesn't work. Negative 11 doesn't work. 9 does work, but negative 9 does not work as well. And since 9 works, that means the pair of numbers that works is 3 and 6. So your answer is 3 and 6. In our last example, we're listing which two numbers multiply to 7 and add to negative 8. So if I'm listing which two numbers multiply to positive 7, I'm going to start by listing. If I do 7 divided by 1, gives me positive 7. So I have 1 and 7. And again, we also have to check the negative version. So 7 divided by -1 gives me -7. Now 7 divided by 2 gives me a decimal, so it doesn't work. And the negative version also would not work. 7 divided by 3 is a decimal, which doesn't work, and the negative version also wouldn't work as well. 7 divided by 4 is a decimal, so it doesn't work, and -4 also would not work as well. 7 divided by 5 is a decimal, so it doesn't work, and the negative wouldn't work as well. And 7 divided by 6 is a decimal, so it doesn't work, and the negative version would not work as well. And then we're back to 7, which we've already checked. So in this case, there's a lot of numbers to check, but we only have 2 possibilities. Now, of those 2 possibilities, we have to figure out which pair adds to -8. So if we want to check which ones add to equal -8, I have to add straight across. So if I add 1 plus 7 equals +8, and then the next one I have -1 plus -7 equals -8. So if we're seeing which of these pairs adds to -8, the first one adds to +8, so it doesn't work, but the next one adds to -8, so it does work. So my answer in this case is -1 and -8.